I was kind of humiliated and embarrassed.
I felt like it was a racial thing, and I felt like he was singled out.
Only on 9, claims of racial discrimination at a Chick-Fil-A. A Clover police officer said that he had to pay for his meal, but that his 3 white colleagues did not.
We all came into the restaurant together, we rode together, came in the restaurant together, all had the same uniform on, stood in line together. There was never a time that we were not together while standing in line.
They say all 3 white officers were offered a complimentary meal, but when Sergeant Reed got to the register, he had to pay.
I was kind of humiliated and embarrassed, at the whole situation, because it seemed like it was a racial issue to me, which I didn't like, because I know it wasn't perceived. It actually happened.
Guys, originally this was going to be a simple reaction to a story about a black man being discriminated against at a Chick-fil-A. 3 white officers got food for free. Black man didn't, who was also an officer. They're all sergeants, and they were all in the same line, and there was nobody else in the line, apparently. But new information came out after I did my initial recording, and it turns out that while the first 3 officers had one person who was working the register, another person came in as this black man was approaching the register. So there was like a training situation going on. So things got a little mixed up, and you could argue that somebody didn't know about the policy, and the officer actually never even said anything about like, hey, they got their food for free, because it's actually against policy. It's like some sort of tip rule, like they can't ask for tips because it's considered like a bribe or something. So he said he didn't say anything about it at the time.
When we arrived at the place, we went inside. It was only 4 people in line. It was myself and 3 other white sergeants. We were all sergeants. We were all dressed the same. We all got in the same line, and we all ordered the food. I was the last one to place my order.
Sergeant Tracy Reed says he and his fellow officers were on their way to Cordell, Georgia to pick up several police vehicles when they stopped in Augusta to eat. He tells me the other officers had their orders taken by the cashier who was training someone. When it was his turn, someone else stepped in.
When I came up, the team leader came to the register. When he came to the register, he took my order, and I paid. I had to pay for my food. He told me, the meal, and I didn't say anything about is my food free or why I didn't get mine free, because we cannot ask for gratuities.
Sergeant Reed says he was upset and embarrassed by what he believes was blatant racism.
I kind of feel like if he would have, which again he couldn't have, but if he would have, I think that somebody would have said, oh yeah, that is policy, and it would have been corrected. But now you have wokey wokes on the left who are just race baiters and always looking for every single race incident that they possibly can so that they can monetize it and continue to basically nag at that racial scar and make sure that the wound never heals in America so that they keep making money off of it. You have this loser Rashad Ritchie from the Young Turks who is going off about this, and I figured maybe this will be more funny than the original video I recorded, so let's go ahead and react to him and his meltdown over this. By the way, guys, there's a new feature on YouTube where you can hype videos, so be sure to like the video, hype the video. It helps out a lot. Appreciate you.
Now, if I said to you, Chick-fil-A decided to give all of the white cops a free meal, but the black colleague cop had to pay for his, you would say, there's no way that a major company like Chick-fil-A would ever do something so, well, let's just say, visually extreme and egregious. He's in uniform. You're giving free breakfast to people in uniform this morning, obviously. He's one of them. Ironically, he happens to be standing next to them, and he happens to be traveling with them. But he's in uniform, and this is not about a meal. This has nothing to do with breakfast. He would have been just as happy to pay if the other cops paid or received a 50% discount, if the other officers received a 50% discount, whatever it may be. He would have been happy with understanding that society has evolved to a place where they could actually see him for the man he has decided to become rather than the color of his epidermis. So he feels this way. Number one, it has happened at his job. I know he's at Chick-fil-A, but he's on duty. It has happened at his job. It happened in front of his colleagues. And to be practical, because he's not corrupt, he's powerless to really do much about it. It is their decision. Now, if he was corrupt, he has other options that we would completely disagree with, but he's not. And so he sits in his embarrassment, he sits in his shame. It connects back to former instances of racism that he never talked about, that he doesn't mention to his colleagues, that he does not carry with him every day. But all of those things now have to come in the processes of his mind while he's sitting down with his white colleagues eating breakfast that only he had to pay for. So this is not about the meal.
It's not about, like, originally when I recorded this video, I didn't see that part of, I didn't see that particular video. So I didn't know. I was like, yeah, this definitely looks like a racist incident because the information wasn't there. But when you put this in context, then it looks like, yeah, I mean, maybe, but if it's a different person, then you could argue that they had no idea like what happened with the people in the front. If they came from the back and they didn't see what happened with the other police officers, they don't know the policy, and you talking about people getting trained and stuff, there's a lot of things can get confused. That's all I'm saying.
Now you have everyone in agreement. Everybody who was there. Racism exists. It happened. You got 3 white cops who now are informed, said, man, it happened while I had my partner in uniform at Chick-Fil-A. It happened. I saw it. It's not fiction, guys.
Here's the only issue I got with this is, again, based off the information we have, is that nobody said anything at the time. They like waited until after. I feel like if they would have said, hey, don't you guys have a policy to, give discounts to police officers, then I feel like somebody would have said, I don't know, let me check. Oh yeah, you're right. But they literally didn't say anything. I feel like this all could have possibly been resolved by a little bit more communication rather than melting down about this afterward, but that's just my opinion.
We got previous incidents, okay? Last year in Maryland, the same thing happened. This happened to Marquise Van Zago, who was outraged after he placed a drive-through order in Chick-fil-A, and a worker printed the word monkey on his receipt. The owner of the location told Van Zago that he wouldn't fire the employee involved because the employee was a minor and said he misheard the name, actually. So Marquise is spelled like monkey to that employee. There's a literacy issue, I assume, among the workers of Chick-fil-A earlier this year.
He said his name. I'm sorry. I know that his guy's dead serious. People take it like super duper serious. I don't. That's just my personality. If you guys are mad about it, just got to get over it, I guess. But I mean, it shouldn't have happened. To me, it's funny. I can see myself sitting around with my homeboys like, did they just call you monkey? And I'll probably laugh at them. And they probably laugh too, because that's just kind of how we are, guys. I do think that, here's the thing. I'm not going to just go on about this particular story. Do racist things happen? Of course they do. Like, I'm not going to say that they don't. Of course they do. Nobody, including on this channel, is denying that racism is a thing that exists and that it doesn't happen to black people, that it doesn't affect black people. Nobody's making that argument. What I like to argue on this channel is that racism doesn't exist to the point of completely oppressing the black community as much as the fake news would have you believe. A lot of these racial grifters like Mr. Richie here would have you believe, these race baiters and race hustlers like the Al Sharptons of the world, the NAACPs of the world, saying that it's unsafe for a black person to go to Florida. And I went to Florida like 3 times that year when they said that. Stupid stuff. That's the type of stuff that I'm saying isn't real. Like, oh, you try to go to college, you're probably not going to get in because of racism. No, I mean, they proved that you have a higher chance of getting into college, or at least you used to, due to affirmative action at the time, right? So there's all these different instances. We know that, if you go into a micro situation and, I don't know, somebody cuts you off on the freeway, then somebody might scream the N-word at you or something that kind of doesn't really matter if you're a person who just kind of brushes things off and just moves on. But, that could happen. You could be playing a video game and somebody might, if there's chat, might say the N-word or something, but it'll probably be like a child or something saying it because, children are bad, but it won't be anything like, oh, I'm trying to get this job and they just hate all black people, so I just can't get a job nowhere. Like, maybe I don't get one job. Maybe they don't like black people. But if there's like 100 other different jobs I could get, then who cares about that one is what I'm saying. So yes, is there an impact? Sure. But that's like if you're, okay, let's say it's probably mainly white people watching this video. Let's say you're white and you go to a place and all you see is a bunch of black folks working up in there. You apply for that job. You're going to be looking like, man, I already know I'm about to get this job. You already know them black folks probably ain't gonna hire you up in there. It's that same type of logic, but just probably go across the street or right up the street. There's probably other places where they'll hire you. So it's one of those things where I personally don't really take it that seriously because it's not widespread enough and we don't live in enough of an environment to where it's gonna be that serious of a thing. Is it gonna piss you off and maybe hurt your feelings at the time that it happens? Sure, absolutely it will. Do I think that this situation was pure racism based off the context? It's starting to look like no. But obviously, I can see some people see it that way. I think either way, it kind of doesn't really matter. But I think that it doesn't necessarily mean, again, the core overarching point is that the racism as it exists today, I don't think is as crazy and as prominent, as just oppressive, and it's like you just can't breathe. The racism is just so freaking strong in America. Anyone who's making that claim is a god dang fool. But that's just my opinion, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching a Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out. Big shout out to my members, 655, Cat 3309, and Noodle. Could not do it without you.
But I could tell by the way he looked that, he just looked down at his plate and he looked really embarrassed and humiliated, which really made me mad.